AITA for not paying my friend back for a losing lottery ticket? My friends and I have a lottery syndicate that we've been doing for a few years. We each get one ticket where we choose our own numbers and pool the money together. I've always been responsible for buying the tickets, but I asked someone else to do it going forward. My friend volunteered to do the tickets, and we sent our numbers into the group chat for him. A week later, he asked us to pay him back. I asked if we had any luck, and he said, unfortunately not. I then asked if any of our numbers got close, and he said that he didn't want to enter all our numbers and just bought lucky dips. I told him that's fine, but don't expect me to pay him back because he can't follow basic instructions. He said that's ridiculous and that the odds are similar either way. I told him that if I went to a restaurant and didn't get what I ordered, I wouldn't pay the bill. He said that's a dumb comparison and that I should get over it. We then checked what the numbers were, and none of the numbers we sent him won anything. I told him it doesn't matter and that the principle is the same. Obviously, I can afford to pay him, but I don't think he deserves anything. My other friends in the syndicate say I'm making something out of nothing, but I don't see why I should pay anything. ESH. He's the asshole for not following instructions, but you'd also be the asshole for not refunding him for a thing he did buy for the group, albeit incorrectly. I'd pay him and then kick him out of the group. But I wouldn't just steal from him because he did something incorrectly. He still spent the money, you still would have split the winnings if a ticket won. Put it this way, if one of the lucky dips had won $1 million, would you have rejected your share because it wasn't your preferred numbers? Doubtful. ESH. He was wrong to change what was bought, but you still received a chance to win with the expected number of entries. So your correct move would be to pay for this round and then not participate in the pool in the future if you don't like his method. NTA. Your syndicate has been running for years by choosing your own numbers. I assume that when your friend took over the purchasing of the tickets, he was aware of this. He chose to change the process without asking if it was okay. You did not agree to his process. Technically, you should not have to pay for the ticket. But I would pay for it, since there was a ticket that you could have possibly won from, and then decide if you still want to be in this syndicate any longer or not. ESH. Pay him back and kick him out of the group. I guarantee you that if his gamble paid off, you'd want the proceeds and not just a refund. Suddenly your principles would go out the door. Let's not pretend this is anything other than you trying to find an out from taking an L, despite your number not even being drawn. I was roped into doing the lotto for my workplace many years ago after the other person left. I told them, all men, if they didn't pay weekly, I wouldn't do it. There were multiple tickets adding up to more than $60 per week. They didn't listen. I'll pay you next week, etc. I used my credit card twice. I finally snapped and only bought a ticket for the cash they gave me. Well, the tantrums they threw, led by the boss who actually owed me the most. Threatened to sue me if the picked numbers won. That was the last time I bought them, and of course, none of them wanted to do it. So it died, of course. ESH, if you had won, you would probably have taken your share, so you should pay. If you had won with the original numbers, then he would have been in a whole heap of trouble. However, pay when you actually see evidence of the tickets. I used to be in a syndicate and would add a picture of the tickets on the group chat as soon as they were bought. No one could argue with the added bonus that I had evidence of the tickets if they got lost. Also, you may have won with the tickets he bought, but you have no evidence of this. Keep an eye out for a new fancy car. ESH him, because he changed the parameters of the syndicate due to his laziness without discussing it with all the members. You, because he still bought the tickets, they just weren't the numbers you chose. I totally understand why you are upset over it, but if any of the lucky dips had won, I bet not a single one of the syndicate members would be complaining. Going forward, you either accept the lucky dips, take over again if he isn't prepared to do it the way it has always been done, or just buy your own ticket. I haven't played the lottery here for a while, so I don't know if they still do it or not, but you used to be able to get a printed slip that is like a quick pick card. Can't remember the proper name for it. That has the numbers you've picked on it, and they just have to scan on the lottery terminal to get the lotto ticket with your selected numbers. That way, nobody has to enter individual numbers every time they get a lotto ticket. I don't know if there's something like that that can be done where you are. Or maybe play online if you can save everybody's usual numbers. I think, if anything, there's a little bit of ESH. However, in response to this group, I would stick to the point that this person went against the agreement and violated the intent and your expectations for this lotto syndicate. At this point, you choose to stay in this group. The group has to firmly agree, perhaps in writing, how this is going to work going forward with no exceptions. I've been in lotto groups before, and we always had a signed agreement, and everyone chipped in weekly the same amount, and we bought random quick picks by agreement. It was also recorded that any winnings under a certain amount were rolled into the next draw, and that we split winnings evenly otherwise. Lotto winnings are very often subject to court cases, as are perceived losses in group situations, so if you participate in one, as much as you can prepare for scenarios. Pay him back for what? Pooling the money to buy the tickets would imply that everyone contributes a share toward the purchase of the tickets before the tickets are bought. If you didn't pay for the ticket, you don't get to walk away without paying, just because none of the tickets won. If I was the person responsible for buying the tickets, I would refuse to go buy them until everyone had paid their share. Problem solved. But in this case, yes, YTA and you owe him your share of the ticket purchase. Pay up. NTA. I used to be part of a similar group, and for a while I was the one who bought the tickets. As a group, we decided on which types of tickets to buy for what dates and any special numbers, although we often went for random numbers. All the person who bought the tickets had to do was consult the note listing what to buy, or hand it to the cashier. They never changed the order on their own. ESH, you still had a chance to win. If you honestly wouldn't have accepted the winnings if his lucky picks had won, then don't pay him. But come on, there's no way in hell you would have turned down the money if the ticket had won. Pay him and either kick him out of the group or take over the responsibility of buying the tickets. Stop being a cheap, difficult person. ESH. If he bought the wrong ones by accident, that's one thing. But he intentionally went for the wrong item due to laziness. If he wasn't going to do it as the group preferred, he shouldn't have volunteered. If he's paid the cash and then waited a week to be reimbursed, you deciding not to bother repaying him is an asshole move. And for the group as a whole, expecting one person to foot the bill and then reimburse them a week after the fact is asshole behavior. NTA if he didn't share the numbers purchased with everyone. I buy tickets for a group and always send them photos of the tickets as soon as possible, and then send screenshots of the winner page after scanning them, once the app has updated with the latest drawing. Everyone always knows exactly where we stand with rolling into the next drawing. I learned recently that you can set up a recurring purchase with the same numbers at a frequency you choose. That could solve the problem of having to enter the numbers in every single week, but it could also mean people get more lax about paying for their part. ESH also, lottery pools will never work out to your benefit point. 99% of the time you lose. In the rare occasion where some actually hits a winning ticket, they will argue that the group's winning ticket was really their own, that they bought with their own money. These things rarely ever work out because as soon as you give one person control, they will choose money over friends every single time. This can shift to NTA if OP drops out of this stupid scheme and gets on with their life. But if they stay in, they are no different than everyone else and deserve to be part of the problem, not part of the solution. Pay up and have someone else get the tickets next time. Remove that person from the syndicate if you feel so inclined. Also, you probably need better procedures in place. Money should be collected prior to the purchase of the tickets, not after the winning numbers have been selected. Also, the numbers selected by everyone and copies of the purchase tickets should be included in a document signed by everyone and distributed to everyone. This can be somewhat simplified by purchasing tickets that include multiple drawings. I suppose it depends on the game, but I can buy a ticket that includes the same number in the next 10 drawings. For a pool system like this, where you play every week, this could make the process a lot easier. The people involved only have to deal with it once a month or so. Easier than chasing everyone down every 3 days. NTA. For this reason, I would point out to your friend group how it would be easy for him to be using your money to buy tickets, and then not pay out if one wins and show that the numbers aren't any that someone sent through and say that he bought those tickets with his own money. Since he's not following the rules the group decided on years ago, then you shouldn't have to pay him. I would discuss with the group how they want to handle this moving forward and if the rules of the group are changing. After the consensus has been made, decide if you want to stay in the group or not. But I don't think you need to pay. Your friend easily could have said, "I'm doing lucky dips" when you sent the numbers. He chose not to for some reason. NTA, but you need to have an addendum to the rules. I've been part of group buys at work when it's large. Whoever purchased the tickets was responsible for photocopying them and distributing to the group prior to the draw so we could all verify the tickets were purchased. It's not a question of whether he pocketed the winnings. It's a question of whether he pocketed funds and kept them for himself instead of purchasing. And that's much easier to do when he claims to have just gotten random numbers rather than purchasing tickets with selected numbers. It's also much easier for him to keep any winnings if he is using random numbers and not telling anyone what the numbers on those tickets are. Propose that going forward, whoever purchases must send pictures or scans of the tickets to the group. Unless he can produce the tickets for this last one and show that none of them were winners, don't pay. If you are using a syndicate, you should be using random numbers. While it obviously has no effect on the odds of winning, it can dramatically affect the payout if you win. Basically, people have large biases in the numbers they pick, as they, for example, often choose birthdays. So, in 1 week shortly after the UK National Lottery started, there were 127 separate winners, while in previous weeks there had never been more than 4 winners. So rather than get over £1 million, as in all previous cases, each the winners got less than £8,000. By choosing randomly or deliberately choosing unpopular numbers, you can improve your chances of not sharing the prize in the event you do win. Does he not make photocopies of the numbers and distribute them before the draw? How do we know he even bought tickets if he doesn't? More importantly, how do you know someone doesn't keep the winning tickets for themselves? We did this at a bar I worked at, and we always distributed a copy of the tickets to keep it honest. You would have known beforehand that he didn't get your numbers. TA, because if the new numbers won, you would accept the prize? And no, you don't pay for what you didn't order at a restaurant, but you don't get to keep or eat the food you don't pay for. If you eat it, like waiting until after the draw to call out Mr. Ticket Buyer, you pay for it. He's using random numbers when there are set numbers to be played, but also isn't telling you what the numbers he bought are. I wouldn't trust him at all, and your group needs to have a discussion about that without him and decide whether he is still allowed in. Using set numbers or sharing what they are is incredibly important for a group buy to ensure if one does hit, the purchaser doesn't have the temptation to claim that ticket as an outside buy. NTA for standing your ground here, but not for the reason you seem to be wanting. ESH, the friend should have followed the routine but got lazy. OP should still pay for the ticket because friend did still go out of pocket for the expenses. By all means, cut that friend out of your lotto pool if you want, or make sure they stick to the script going forward, but don't be so petty as to back out of your obligation because you're so hung up on your lucky numbers.